And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock Show. It's Wednesday, May 28th, Game 5, Western Conference Finals. Oklahoma City Thunder, Minnesota Timberwolves. This will be the end of Minnesota today. I'm Josh Engelman. That's Greg Ehrenberg. We're brought to you by DraftKings, and we're talking some basketball, so hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. We just got the Wolves lineup, but we are waiting on the Thunder lineup, which is some potential for it to change, but we'll find that out soon enough. Greg, are you excited for this game?
Sort of. I mean, just in general, the playoffs have been really good. This is, like, off memory, one of the better playoffs I could ever remember. Hopefully we do end up getting a competitive finals as well, but it could just be OKC continues to steamroll everybody. It's hard to be as excited about OKC Minnesota as Knicks Pacers because pretty much all of those games have been really fun. OKC, big favorites at home. Conventional wisdom is that they close out the series today, but you never know. Weird things happen in these playoffs.
I would ask you who you think wins. I think there's really only one answer. You could tell me that you think the Wolves cover. I would accept that, but I believe the line is 8.5, or at least it was the last time I looked. I'm going to double check that right now. Line is loading. Who wins?
Yeah, OKC wins. I'm not betting the spread, but I'll take Minnesota to cover more in just hopes that it's a competitive game. If Minnesota doesn't cover, then we're just looking at sort of a blowout.
Yes. Yeah. Line is still 8.5, at least that I'm seeing right now. So Thunder win, Thunder cover.
All right.
I think this one's over. Place is going to be rocking. Well,
would you give the Timberwolves a 0% chance to win the series?
To win the series, barring injury, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That would be a pretty wild comeback.
It would be.
I mean, it's kind of like the same thing. Like the talent gap between the Thunder and the Wolves is pretty similar to the talent gap between Boston and the Knicks. I don't know. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is almost 40% owned. At the captain spot, that is. He's 86% owned overall. Anthony Edwards is 18. Jalen Williams is 15. Next highest guy after that is Chet. So, are you focused on those three guys, considering they're making up 70% of the captain ownership? Or do you see an angle to any specific guys outside of that range?
I've got a couple shots on other players, but I don't have anybody in more than 5% of lineups outside of Chet, Jalen Williams, Anthony Edwards, SGA in the captain spot. Maybe as we talk through this and we come up with, some talking points, we think through it. So like yesterday, for instance, something that really benefited me is as we were talking about the Aaron Nesmith injury situation, what minutes could look like. My final thing I did before uploading my lineups was gave a pretty significant ROI boost to Benedict Mathurin to force him into lineups. And I really think that sole move is why I ended up having live lineups and being profitable, because he was a necessary piece at like 5% ownership yesterday. So at the moment, I don't have anything, but I'm hoping that as we talk, I could figure out some good angles to get a little bit more contrarian, because as of right now, Josh, I do not have the most contrarian looking lineups. Absolutely not.
I don't at the captain spot, that's for sure. I am 2xing Anthony Edwards. I am slightly over on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Those guys are making up 75% of my exposure. I'm fading Jalen Williams at the captain spot, but I have the Chet piece, and then it's just a slow trickle of the rest of these guys. And I'm not super mad about it, other than the fact that I think the Thunder win this game pretty easily. But because I'm scared of Ant. I hate this series for him. I've talked about it now for 4 separate games. This will be the 5th one. But for right now, the biggest stand that I have is Ant. $1,000 cheaper than Shai, back against the wall. I'm okay with it on paper, but I'm not a believer in it. I don't know how to justify it. But I hope he goes out there and tries to show off a little bit today. I feel like he's going to be extra aggressive early. Whether or not that is to his benefit is probably up in the air.
I do think there's one really interesting talking point here. Actually, I think I might have found my contrarian guy that I like. How many minutes is Julius Randle going to play today? Because we're not that far removed from him being uber chalk in this series and him being a guy who is, like 40% owned in the flex spot and 10+% owned in the captain spot. These are kind of the spots that I've liked targeting in these showdowns. Like, who is somebody who has a real apparent upside, but the field just isn't on? I know it's scary. The prop lines have plummeted since the start of this series. He hasn't closed in 2 of the last 3 games, but Julius Randle is not getting much ownership from the field.
He's not. He's getting even less from me right now, but I like where your head is. Thunder will start. Gilgeous-Alexander, Dort, Jalen Williams, Holmgren, and Hartenstein. So no changes to the OKC lineup for today. I get the path to that one because, I guess theoretically he's the second best offensive player on Minnesota. If they're going to have any prayer being in the game, you would hope that he can be a little bit more involved than he has been in the past few. 28, 30, and 32 minutes over the past 3 games for Julius Randle. Right now, I'm pretty well under. I think this series is dreadful for him. I think this series is largely dreadful for anybody that isn't just camped out shooting corner threes. But if he's going to be owned the way that he's currently owned, which is 2.3% in the captain spot at a healthy $9,600 salary, which is probably the more interesting piece to me. How is that still $9,600? But even more interesting, 23% or 21% at the utility spot. You're kind of paying up to be contrarian with him a little bit more. I get the appeal for it today, but boy, oh boy, do I think he's in for a long night. Well, or a short night, at least, as the way it's been going for him.
It's a warranted market correction just because of what we've seen in some games this series. I think the ownership may have gone too far in the other direction, though.
Does seem a little low. I'm with you there. But it's hard to give Rudy Gobert any love when you got to have Nickeil Alexander-Walker in half of your lineups at 3,400 because he was the, play du jour last time out. Big day for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Is he a preferred value option for you? Is that where you're getting a stand? Are you going to have a ton of Randle? Because I guess I'll skip Nickeil Alexander-Walker for right now. My question to you is, if you're going to take a stand on Randle, what is that costing you?
Yeah, so I'm making some adjustments right now, and this isn't as simple as Mathurin, where I could just go in and say, let me just give an ROI boost to Mathurin to get, 15 to 20% of him. I actually do have to make some other adjustments to make Randle make sense. I'm going to have to give him some minutes at the expense of somebody else. So I'm looking through this, and I don't want to give Randle, although I think it's on the table, I don't want to give Randle 40 minutes or anything like that. That would just give me, crazy amounts of him. But I do want to give Randle a few extra minutes just so he shows up more meaningfully in lineups, and then to figure out where those minutes are going to be coming from. I guess I could take a little bit from Naz Reid. I could take a little bit of playing time away from Dante DiVincenzo, who went from being not really rostered to makes all his shots last game. And now everybody, not that he's insanely popular, but 30%. Nothing's really changed from this game to last game other than DiVincenzo just made all his threes last game. And now everybody wants to be rostering him at a higher clip. But yeah, I don't mind taking a couple minutes away from DiVincenzo, a minute away from Naz Reid, maybe a minute away from Gobert, and then give 4 more minutes to Julius Randle. And then all of a sudden he's going to show up in, half my lineups or something like that.
Okay. I hope I have a little bit more of them on my next run. We'll see. I believe we had an ownership run a minute ago. Let me double check that. I see 809 as a timestamp, so this should be a relative. Yep. Last ownership update 1 minute ago. No major changes. Obviously, the lineups came in as we expected. Nickeil Alexander-Walker up to 51.7. I guess let's touch on some of the value because we have a couple options at the top that are relatively cheap. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is heavily owned at 3,400. Mike Conley is pretty heavily owned at 2,800. Even somebody like Caruso at 4,800 is pulling some love. Same price for Cason Wallace, who's 30% owned. We could touch on the 1K guys in a second, but how are you feeling about that ownership on Nickeil Alexander-Walker? Because this strikes me as a spot where I don't love the massive ownership that's coming into him. But I don't think he's going anywhere either. Like I'm not nervous that he's like going to suddenly play 12 minutes today or anything like that. I feel pretty comfortable with him. He doesn't have to play well, but I'm not super concerned that he's chalky after a big game, because I think it's relatively warranted given his price and just sort of given his role in the series.
They fucked up his price point. It's one thing the first couple games of the series where, we had a good reason to believe that Nickeil Alexander-Walker, just because he's playing against his cousin and that's a matchup that you guys know the deal. We've told this story like 5 times now. We had good reason to believe Nickeil Alexander-Walker was going to get extended minutes. We didn't know for sure, but it was warranted speculation. We've now seen this play out for the entire series, and his salary has pretty much been untouched. It's gone up a little bit, but not enough. And I don't really understand why. So he's the best value play on the slate. There's other guys we could also consider for cheap, but none of them come close to matching what we're getting from Nickeil Alexander-Walker from a projection standpoint relative to his salary on the low end.
What do you want to do with Mike Conley?
So I like him as my second favorite value option. He doesn't stack up to say NAW, but at $2,800, he's also underpriced. It's kind of crazy to say $2,800 doesn't have a massive ceiling, but his minutes have kind of been capped to a way where like you are very unlikely to see him put up a game like Nickeil Alexander-Walker did last game, for instance. Like, I don't think Mike Conley has that in him, but there is a scenario here where Nickeil Alexander-Walker just doesn't really make his shots, and then he puts up like 14 fantasy points, which, by the way, could still be enough to be in a winning lineup at $3,400. But there's a scenario here where Mike Conley just scores more fantasy points than NAW at $600 cheaper, and that lands him into a winning lineup. So good value option, my second overall favorite value play behind NAW.
Let's get to the cheapies. We got Kenrich Williams in the rotation. Last time out, he's 1,200, about 15% owned. You've got Terrence Shannon, who has been grabbing like 6 to 8 minutes from Minnesota. He's the flat 1K now. He's 10% owned. And then the man who was relatively chalky, or at least decently owned last time out in Aaron Wiggins, is the flat 1K. He didn't play a single second. Mm-hmm. What do you want to do with Kenrich, Shannon, and I guess potentially Aaron Wiggins?
Yeah, I mean, these low-end guys for OKC are so interchangeable, and they're so hard to know what they're going to do on a day-to-day basis. So just look at, really any of those guys you mentioned, but Kenrich Williams has played really bizarre rotations this year, like super bizarre rotations. And it almost seems like Dagnall is going to determine Kenrich Williams' rotations based on if he makes his first shot or not. And if it goes in and he's shooting with confidence, then cool, he's going to ride with them. If not, then he just pulls him out of the game. So game 1, he plays 10 minutes kind of out of nowhere and is pretty good off the bench. He checks into game 2. He misses his first shot, checks out, never comes back, and he plays 1 minute in game 2. And then you're like, all right, I don't know what that really ends up meaning going forward. Game 3, you end up getting 14 minutes out of him, but almost all of that is in garbage time. He didn't play at all when the game was competitive. Then all of a sudden they dust off Kenrich Williams again last game, and he plays 12 and a half minutes. So there's not really been a whole lot of consistency here. And I assume that if he comes out and misses first shot or first 2 shots, he dies and never steps on the court again.
I'm with you. I do think that he is, I don't want to say like definitely going to be out there, but I'd be very surprised if he suddenly just wasn't in the rotation, because he hasn't been any sort of issue. I think the most interesting play is the 5% owned Aaron Wiggins, because I don't know if he's going to play. Previous to his DNP, 13 minutes, 10 minutes, 16 in the absolute blowout. So don't read into that one too much, but could he just come in and play 6 minutes at the flat 1K, beat Shannon and Kenrich Williams, and just be the guy? Like, that doesn't seem surprising to me if he's going to be that low owned. And I don't know where else to go for minimal ownership, unless you're about to tell me that you're going back to Isaiah Hartenstein.
So one other guy who I didn't play last game, really, I think I had like 2% of him, but I like him a little bit more, although I do suspect his ownership is going to be a little bit higher. Terrence Shannon has played very well the last couple of games. He's going to get another rotation or two today. And something else that I think is kind of going missed about his minutes last game, he got hurt and had to go to the locker room. If he didn't get hurt and have to go to the locker room, he would have played more than the 8 minutes that he got. So if he is actually going to be, what do we have him projected at? 8% ownership. That's pretty interesting for a guy who might be playing like 12 minutes.
Did you listen to the strategy show today by any chance? My guess is no.
No, I did not.
So are you aware that Terrence Shannon is a rookie?
Yes.
Do you know how old he is?
No, I assume fairly old though, based on your tone.
He is older than Ant.
26 or something?
Yeah, if like Ant's 23, he's 24 or whatever it is. Or add a year to both of those things. But yeah, he's like slightly older than Ant, which is just wild to think about.
Yeah, I just looked at 24 and turns 25 this summer.
Yeah. So yeah, 24, 23 for right now, I believe. I think Ant's like a full year younger than him. It's just so bizarre to think about Ant's 5th year in the NBA. No disagreements. I find Terrence Shannon to be pretty interesting as well. As of right now, I'm a little over the field on Shannon. I'm a little over the field on Kenrich Williams. And at least as of my previous run, I am a bit over the field on the ghost of Aaron Wiggins.
Okay. Yeah, Wiggins, I've got a couple shots on Wiggins, 5%. But of the flat min 1K guys, not even bringing Kenrich Williams in the mix because he's $1,200. But if we're just talking the flat min guys, I like Shannon the best.
Okay. No disagreement there because I think I trust him more than I trust Dagnall's decisions because all bets are off. Like it could just be Jalen Williams with a Y today because that's what Dagnall felt like he wanted to do.
Yeah, I just updated by the way, also, if he has a good game today, I'm going to be so annoyed by it. It could just be Hartenstein who ends up playing more minutes for OKC as well. And I was just a game early on it. But yeah, as far as contrarian guys go relative to our ownership projections, we've got Shannon projected for 8% ownership. I have him in 21% of lineups. I'm a little skeptical he's actually only going to be 8% owned, but we'll see.
Well, we're hitting a mild lull as I'm about to generate my lineup. So it would be pretty easy to tell you guys about a little DraftKings deal that's being run. There should be a link in the description for that deal. It's very simple. Draft a $20 best ball lineup. Okay. Draft a $20 best ball lineup. Could win a share of $15 million. You'll get a second ticket for free. Very easy. Draft one best ball lineup. Get another best ball lineup for free. Give yourself another shot at the massive best ball prize pools that are going on at DraftKings. And all you have to do is click the link in the description to do that. Very simple, guys. I personally am not an NFL guy in general, but the amount of money that is available to people out there in best ball, if you even have a cursory interest in the NFL, get yourself some best ball teams and give yourself something to sweat throughout the year. Never know when one of those is going to pop out and all of a sudden you've got 7 figures in your bank account when it's all said and done.
By the way, this is also like a pretty legitimately good offer. Especially for people who, if you play like single entry DFS or something along those lines, lower bank, like you're just getting a free entry. Draft one, get another one. So it's, $20 ticket. You're getting added to your account. It's a really good deal. Take advantage of it.
Yeah. Doubles your chances of just simply cashing one of those, which is probably what everybody's just hoping for. But, you want the milli or more, depending on what you're doing. Ooh, let me go ahead and ban these gents.
Multiple of them. Boy, chat is running wild.
Oh, today. Boy.
We are getting botted crazy.
I blame Jordan. All right. Who haven't we talked about that we're missing? Who's standing out to you? What are you getting a lot of? What are you not getting a lot of? Is there anybody that we haven't talked about yet that you're seeing?
So just want to circle back on this. I have Randall in about half my lineups right now, including 8% of Randall in the captain spot. So I'm going to take a pretty big stand there. Let's see how it goes. Could Julius Randle get his minutes back? Maybe. but I'm willing to roll the dice on that being the guy who I think has more upside than the field is giving him credit for.
Okay.
As far as other guys, let me look through the rest of my exposures. I would like to be underweight to the field on DiVincenzo. That's just not the case, though. I'm like right in line with the field. I do get a little concerned that he gets steamed up because of how well he played last game. But as of right now, right alongside holding hands with the field on DiVincenzo. What are you doing with him? Because I know that he's somebody who you've had struggles getting correct in the series as well.
I am handing holds with him as well. I haven't even looked yet. I just needed to make the joke first.
Fair enough.
I'm basing it. I will have an answer for you in 5 seconds. DiVincenzo is currently, I'm handing holds with him. Actually,
there we go.
I have 3% at the captain. I have 29% at the utility. So I'm running pretty well neutral to him overall. My biggest stand is Ant. I am getting to an overwhelming amount of him at the captain spot. As of right now, 44%. And currently he is projected for 50 at the utility spot. And I am sitting right at that number as well. So my big stand is Ant and Shea. I know that's a wild one, but I am making it a little bit more different with some Aaron Wiggins over the field. I'm over on Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I'm over on Kenrich. And over on Mike Conley. And Shannon. So it's just, I have the two big pay-ups and I am rotating through the ass parts of the slate.
Fair enough. So one other consequence as well of upping my exposure to Randall and reallocating some minutes, I ended up coming in underweight to the field on Gobert. I only have 11% of Gobert now. Okay. And then also, although one that I don't really hate is I'm also underweight to the field on Jaden McDaniels. He also had a monster game last time out. Generally, my strategies for playing Showdown is I would like to be playing the guys who are coming off a bad game and then being underweight to the field to the guys who just had a good outlier game, just because that's the way the field tends to gravitate towards or away from those players. But Jaden McDaniels is priced up a little bit and then also had maybe the best offensive game in his career last game, considering the stakes of the game. And I don't know, he's fairly expensive for me when you could play other guys priced around him like Chet, there's enough cheap options that it's not even that hard to get to like Julius Randle instead of McDaniels in lineups.
Well, I am aggressively fading Jaden McDaniels. So you and I are on the same page there. He is in none of my captain spot and 9% of my lineups. He's my second biggest fade. Randall is a big fade for me. I am very anti him in the betting markets too. So if he has a big game today, I'm going to not have money. But I only have 18% of him at the utility. The true biggest fade that I have today is not one that I'm happy about and not one that makes me feel like Oklahoma City wins the game. I'm about half the field on Jalen Williams, and I don't like that at all because he's my dude. But that's my big fade today, Jalen Williams, J-Dub.
So it is. So just because of the tools, like I also have unders on Julius Randle. I've got a lot of CLV on them as well. Like I have Julius Randle under 4.5 assists, like -110. It's like -130 now or something like that. I have him for under 19.5 points. I think the line is 17.5 now. As a same game parlay, though, I am kind of tempted right now to pull up FanDuel and just see if you just project him to play his regular minutes, what can this look like for a same game parlay? He's plus 630 to score 25 points. He's plus 215 to score 20 points. What about rebounds? Yeah, 10 rebounds. He's plus 420. Like if you just made a same game parlay with his regular season averages today, it's going to pay out like 15-1.
Can he do it? What I assume your most likely guess is that we are not getting like a particularly good version of Julius Randle today, but there's obviously upside in that decision, but I can't imagine. I'm guessing you're not confident in Julius Randle.
No. Not confident at all. But I mean, we're also one game removed from him putting up 24 points, being one of the better players, plus 38 in 30 minutes, and basically didn't play the fourth quarter of that game and finished with 34 and a half fantasy points. We're one game removed from that. You reverse the order of the games here. If he has the game he had last game was the game he had 2 games ago, those games reversed, he's chalk today.
Can you imagine if he were chalk today after what's been happening? He's going to smash, isn't he?
I mean, he was popular last game because he was coming off a good game, if I remember correctly.
I mean, look, one of Jaden McDaniels, J-Dub, or Julius Randle are going to be very good today based on my exposures. We've learned this now over the years that we know where this is going. So feels like Randall's probably the most likely scenario here at the very least. Is there anybody we haven't talked about yet that we can touch on in the next 90 seconds?
Let's see. Anything else that really stands out about my lineups? I mentioned I'm underweight to McDaniels. I'm underweight to Rudy Gobert. I'm overweight to Julius Randle and Terrence Shannon. Yeah, like my big stand right now is Randle. My confidence level is 0, but just like from a non-biased viewpoint, if you just looked at all of the players in this game, their price points, you say, who has the most upside for the least amount of ownership? I don't know how the answer is anybody other than Julius Randle.
I agree. It'd be hard for me to pick anybody else just given where the ownership lays right now. I guess it wouldn't shock me if Dort had a monster game. He's like the only one where if they're leaving him in any way, you know, he's willing to take the threes and just throw up those moon balls. Do they start to fall a little bit? He'd probably be the only other guy where I look at the ownership and think, I can see taking that stand. I'm basically dead neutral to him, so I don't really have like a Dort take, but he'd probably be the only other guy that I would put in that sort of realm.
By the way,
everybody else is sort of like appropriate.
Before we finish here, Randle, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 12-1.
Seems reasonable.
Pretty much what he averaged in the regular season. He was a little lighter on the rebounds, but whatever. It's 12-1.
I don't want that to win in any way. I hope that is a wildly unsuccessful bet. Otherwise, I'm not going to have a lot of money. What do we miss? It doesn't matter. It's 8:30. Playback.tv/Stokastic will have the game on shortly. And for those that are interested, this game is airing on ESPN, which means it will not be starting for probably 15 minutes. So go get yourself a drink, do whatever it is you do at 8:30 to prepare for this game, but get back to your desk or TV at 8:44 and you should be good. Greg, anything you want to add here?
No, just like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and yeah, that's about it for today. Go. Yeah, now I've got all kind of conflicting interests. My actual like real bigger money bets are on Julius Randle unders, but I'm playing him in DFS. The same game parlay I just put is whatever. It's a lottery ticket, but I've convinced myself that I could be happy no matter what the outcome is on Julius Randle until I find a way for all these things to lose.
Yeah, I hope you reverse middle this bad boy in some way.
Yeah.
Anyway, playback.tv/Stokastic. The game will be on. You can watch it there. I'll pop into chat from time to time. And if we happen to get a competitive game down the stretch, I'll see you guys at like 10:30. So enjoy yourselves. We're out of here. Peace.